ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session of self-improvement to the Quran series, which we have begun in Ramadan. Today, the passage that we are going to study is from Surah Al-Muminun, which is the 23rd Surah of the Quran, verses 57 to 62. Just going to read out the text and translation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal lazina hum min khashyati rabbihim mushfiqun, wallazina hum bi ayati rabbihim yu'minun, wallazina hum bi rabbihim la yushrikun, wallazina yu'tuna ma ataw qulubuhum wajilatun annahum ila rabbihim raji'un. Ulaika yusari'una fil khairat wa hum laha sabiqun. ولا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها ولدينا كتاب ينطق بالحق وهم لا يظلمون. However, those who keep fearing the might of their Lord and who believe in the revelations of their Lord, and those who do not associate partners with their Lord, and those who, when give something for His cause, give with their hearts trembling, with the thought that they have to return to their Lord. It is they who are taking lead in good works, and they shall certainly acquire them. In reality, we do not burden a soul beyond its capacity. And we have a book which shall accurately disclose what they had been doing in the world, and not the slightest injustice shall they suffer. So once again, we have a passage of the Quran which speaks of the traits of the believers. As we have been discussing this all along, that as far as the positive traits which the Quran wants every person to profess, these traits are not unknown to human beings. They are not unknown to people who read the Quran. They already know that this is what is required of them, because we have been innately blessed with this guidance regarding what this Quran is telling us about professing high character. All the Quran does in this regard is that it keeps reminding us that we must not forget this lesson that we have been taught in our innate guidance. We have been sent in this world with this guidance in our own nature, and lest we forget, the Quran continues to remind us. And precisely for this reason, one of the names of the Quran is zikr, another is zikra. So both these words actually mean reminders. So the Quran is a reminder. It reminds us of the facts that we already have in our nature, in our intuition. And it is precisely for this reason, as I said, that Quran does not give us any original guidance. And one thing also which we have to understand here is that the Quran is a book for all humanity. It's a book for mankind. It's not just a book for human beings or Muslims, I would say. We have made this book to be a book meant for the believers, whereas the Quran calls itself to be hudal lin-nas. It is guidance for mankind. So, taking cue from these words, that it is guidance for mankind, we have to understand that the Quran is something which gives us this urge. It gives us this inspiration that when we follow these traits, when we acquire these traits, when we implement these traits on our own selves, we are in fact reminding ourselves of something that we already know. It's the call of our own hearts. So the first thing it says is, Innal lazina hum min khashyati rabbihim mushfiqun, that these believers are those who keep fearing the might of their Lord and who believe in the revelations of their Lord. Obviously, when we know that the Almighty is the creator of this universe, He has made us, He is going to look after us, He is looking after us, and one day He shall call us to account. So the immediate emotion that we get is that we do fear that accountability, just as we fear the accountability whenever we are made to pass through this test in our own world. So when we are given, when we have to take an exam, for example, when we have to go through a test, there is a little bit of anxiety and apprehension in ourselves. And that anxiety and that apprehension, of course, is to succeed. We do apprehend such exams and tests, but the anxiety and the apprehension that we have is that we would like to pass through these tests, and this makes us a little anxious. In a very similar way, when we say that we fear the Almighty, we are actually fearing His accountability, and His accountability is His justice. And when we fear that justice would be done, the thing that we do fear most is that, well, whatever bad things that we have done would be brought to light, and therefore we have to be as vigilant as possible. So we have to understand this notion of fearing the Almighty. It is not that you're fearing someone who is, horror personified, as people would think. It's not the case with the Almighty at all, Nauzubillah. As far as God is concerned, He is an embodiment of mercy. He is the most merciful. But fearing the Almighty actually means that we are fearing His accountability and His justice, and at the same time thinking that we might fall short, and therefore we should try our best. And وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ, that they are people who believe in the revelations of their Lord. So the revelations of the Lord, of course, refer to the verses of the Quran, to what God has revealed, and they believe in whatever the verses tell us. They regard them to be true. They give us true information. They are based entirely on the truth, and therefore whatever they say is something which we have to believe in. And whatever these verses say, as you might have also gauged from various occasions, that it's also logical, and it's so, it stands the test of all reasoning, that when we say that this is something that we have to believe in, then this belief is not a blind belief. It's not something like a dogma. It's like an intellectually understood belief, something that we can reason, something that we can actually argue in favor of, and something which we can transfer to other people because we are able to reason out that thing. So when we say that they believe in these revelations, it's not a blind belief. It's not a dogma. It's not something that people do and they don't have any idea of. No, in fact, this belief is based on reason and rationality. And precisely for this reason, you'll find the Quran at numerous places substantiating its claims regarding the hereafter, regarding accountability, regarding the fact that there is one God, regarding the fact that prophets of God and books of God were revealed. So all these beliefs, they are not meant in any way to be forced down our throat. They are something which we can reason, understood out of reason and arguments. And therefore, we have to understand that believing in God's revelations is something that becomes an understood reality on our part. It's not something that we just blindly fall into. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ لَا يُشْرِكُونَ. So the third thing which is mentioned is that they do not associate partners with God. They do not have any inkling of the fact that there could have been one God, because it is as simple as the fact that had there been more than one God, the Almighty says, I would have informed you. And in the absence of any information from me, there is absolutely no point and no chance and nothing that can come to you in which people can directly say that, well, we are servants, or we are answerable to more than one God. This is an information which is privy to God only. And when He has said that He is one, so if we still associate partners with Him, then the Almighty at other instances has said that this is iftara Allah, which means that this is imputing falsehood to God. And this has to be, it is such an irrational thing. As the more rational a thing Tawheed is, the more irrational a thing polytheism is, because as we have just seen, it's not based on any reason. It's just based on fear. It's based on the aloofness of the Almighty. It's based on the wrong conception of the attributes of the Almighty. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ أَنَّهُمْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ رَاجِعُونَ. And those who, when give something for His cause, give with their hearts trembling, with the thought that they have to return to their Lord. Again, something which is very, very telling, that when we spend for the cause of God, it's not that we think that we are doing a favor to other people. No, sir. We are not doing any favor. In fact, we are recipients of a favor. God is doing us a favor to give us an opportunity to spend for His cause. And precisely for this reason, the verses say that when they give for the cause of the Almighty, they give it with their hearts trembling. It is as if they tremble with God's fear and with the cognizance of the fact that He is watching over us, and with the comprehension of the fact that this thing, or this wealth and these riches and this charity that we are giving for His cause, they are meant to be, they are actually meant to be something that we had to share with our underprivileged people around us. So therefore, they do this with hearts trembling, which makes us realize that this is not something of a favor that we are doing to other people. It's in fact a duty. It's something of an obligation that we owe to them. And when we fulfill this obligation, our hearts tremble that yes, we were provided with this opportunity and now we are being able to fulfill it. أولئك يسارعون في الخيرات وهم لها سابقون. So then it is said that it is they who are taking lead in good works. أولئك يسارعون في الخيرات وهم لها سابقون. And they shall certainly acquire them. So it is such people who take lead in righteous deeds, who do righteous deeds. They are always people who would like to outdo other people in these righteous deeds. At other instances, the Quran has said that as far as areas are concerned in which the Almighty has blessed people with certain things and which cannot be changed, for example, the parents that he is born into, the country that he is born in, the tribe and the family and the race and the color, all these things cannot be changed. So the Quran says that لا تتمنوا ما فضل الله به بعضكم على بعض, that do not wish that you are given superiority in these things which have been ordained to you, which have been destined for you. Yes, there is one thing in which you should try to outdo each other, because as far as outdoing each other in things which are beyond our control, it's like a meaningless exercise. But things which are in our control, God says that it is here that you have to take lead, and that is fastabiqul khairat. Try to outdo others by doing righteous deeds. You cannot outdo others in areas which have been destined, which God has already chosen for you. But areas in which God has left the whole field vast and open for you, it is here that you must take the initiative. And that is the area of good deeds. Khairat, fastabiqul khairat. Khairat in Arabic means all righteous deeds. So if we are able to outdo people in these righteous deeds, then this is something that every single person, whether he is intelligent, whether he is given an opportunity to be placed at the highest rungs of ladder in the society or at the lowest ones, it is regardless of that, he has the opportunity to do good deeds, because doing a good deed does not need that intelligence, does not need wealth or riches, does not need any other attribute that one might think that people have. All that it needs is the will to do what the right thing is. So the Quran has stressed this, and in fact, this is an antidote to that feeling of dejection that people are overcome with when they see other people being blessed with so many other things, and especially if this blessing is on a natural basis. The Almighty says that this is an area you should not even think about, because I have given people in that area according to my wisdom, and my wisdom is based on so many other things. But something which you can do yourself is to outdo each other in righteous deeds. And وَهُمْ لَهَا سَابِقُونَ, and they are the people that they shall acquire them. So it is they who are taking lead in good works, and they shall acquire them. So this is an answer to the conditional clauses which are mentioned in the previous verses, that people who are doing this, people who are doing this, I mean, these are all clauses. And then the answer is أُولَٰئِكَ يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ, that they are the people, it is they who are taking lead in good works, and they shall certainly acquire them. وَلَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. In reality, we do not burden a soul beyond its capacity. And we have a book which shall accurately disclose what they have been doing in the world, and not the slightest injustice shall they suffer. So a soul is not burdened beyond his capacity. The directives, the Sharia which is given to mankind, is something that can be manageable, that can be done, and the Almighty does not lay upon us a burden which is beyond our capacity. And not only this, the Quran tells us that whatever we are doing is being recorded in the book, and it shall accurately disclose. يَنْتِقُ بِهَا يَنْتِقُ بِالْحَقِّ. It shall accurately disclose whatever we have done in this world. It will be revealed in the hereafter. It is being recorded in a register, and that register of accounts will be opened on the day of judgment, and people shall then be rewarded or punished. And then, of course, it is said, وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Not the slightest of injustice shall they suffer. So the day of judgment is the day of perfect justice being administered. This is a world in which you just cannot get that perfect justice. This is a world of imperfect justice, or at best we can get possible justice, but far, far away from imperfect justice. So on the day of judgment, this is what you should look forward, or what we should all look forward to, is that perfect justice, and wahum la yuzlamun, that not the slightest injustice will people suffer. So this brings us to an end to this discussion on this passage, and now we can open the floor for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Shehzad, for an amazing talk. Yeah, we have the first question. Baran Nashur, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sir, my question was about, we know that God is one, because God tells us in the Quran, but why is it then that Christians believe that God is like this Trinity of Son, Father, and Holy Spirit? Like, where does that come from? Because Jesus was sent with the message of Tawheed as well, but yeah, it makes no sense. How
so the origin of Trinity is not in the Bible itself. You'll be surprised to know it's basically something which has been authored by Saint Paul. He is the author of this doctrine of Trinity, and the way he has actually defined it, it looks to be as if it is something of a monotheistic belief, in which there are three Godheads, but God is one, and they always say that God is one, but the way that they describe it, it's like a mockery of monotheism. So it's not that Christianity, the way it originally was or revealed to Jesus, that it ever had this concept. It's a later introduction, and if you know what we are dealing today in the Christian world is what we call the Pauline Christianity, or the Christianity, the version of Christianity or the interpretation of Christianity put forth by Saint Paul of Tarsus. And he actually wrote letters to the churches of his times, and he was such an effective, I would say, mystic, that he was able to gather a lot of people under his umbrella, and he taught this doctrine. And in spite of being taught this doctrine, the Quran still, although it doesn't agree with the fact that this can be called as a monotheism, but the Quran says that we'll take this word from you, that because you think that you're not doing any polytheism, and you think that whatever Trinity is, it is in accordance with monotheism, so we'll accept your word for it. In other words, because Christians themselves do not themselves subscribe, or they don't confess to polytheism, and they say, well, although we believe in Trinity, this Trinity is in fact a form of monotheism. So the Quran, in spite of not agreeing with that, I mean, this is something which is very important to note, that the Quran does not agree with this concept, but it takes their word for the fact that, okay, because you think that this is monotheism, we'll accept your word for it. And hence, this is why we call Christians to be monotheistic, basically, and they are called the people of the book as well, and the Jews and the Christians. But as you said, that this belief itself is something which you might want to know is not something which you will find in the Bible.
Okay, but does that mean that Christians are like, they could go to heaven, or are they 100% doomed to the hellfire?
No. You see, this is not correct that Christians or Jews or no non-Muslim are 100% doomed. This is a very erroneous notion that we have. The Quran gives us objective criteria, and it tells us that people who believe in God, who believe in the last day and do righteous deeds, and of course, as a result of that, do not intentionally deny any prophet of God, they will land in paradise. So this is absolutely incorrect to think that all Christians, or in fact all Muslims, are going to end in hell. Anyone who adheres to these three criteria, and at the same time he is not guilty of intentionally, I mean, this is a very important word, deliberate and intentional denial of any prophet that comes his way or whose teachings reaches him, if he does not intentionally deny it and he adheres to these three cardinal beliefs, then paradise is something which the Quran has said will be given to him. We Muslims, we have to correct this and keep on correcting this, that paradise is just meant for Muslims. I think the way we are behaving today, most of us, I mean, not most of us, but many of us might end up in hell, and many of the non-Muslims, on the contrary, might end up in paradise.
Okay, and then one final question, because you said intentionally denying a prophet, but I know some Christians that they deny Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though they have no actual knowledge, but they say he's a false prophet, or they make a mockery out of our prophet. Would that be considered intentionally denying, or out of ignorance?
That is something which is for God to judge. You see, I am no judge of such a person. I'm not going to give a verdict, and I am not authorized to give a verdict. If they have intentionally denied, then God is going to, God knows about it, and He's going to take them to task in the hereafter. But in this world, I have no means to, I have no proof of this. Because you see, when many of the Christians say that he's a false prophet, they are really convinced, or maybe at times they are indoctrinated by their own scholars, and they have not given enough consideration to it. And yes, that is something which might also be for which they'll be held accountable. But you see, it is the nature of that denial which will be called to question on the day of judgment, and complete justice would be done. But as far as we are concerned, we are not in a position to tell if anyone is intentionally denying, and therefore we must not call them to be kafir, because the word kafir, which is used in the Quran on such occasions, is meant for those people who have deliberately denied. And this deliberate denial was communicated by the Almighty to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the institution of Wahi was intact, and he was able to communicate that, well, look, such and such people amongst your adversaries are now just doing it out of willful denial. This institution of Wahi has now been terminated. We don't just get any information from God after the institution of prophethood was terminated. So today we can never have any knowledge whether a person is intentionally denying, because this intentional denial is known only to God. And today we have no means to know this through God. Hence, we have to take a step back, and we just cannot say that people who are denying on the face of it, they are really denying it or not. I think their matter has to be consigned to the Almighty in the hereafter.
Thank you. Naveed Irfan, you may go ahead now.
Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
डॉक्टर साहब, सीरत के ऊपर, अल्लाह के रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की सीरत के ऊपर कोई बहुत ऑथेंटिक बुक अवेलेबल है क्या, इंग्लिश में हो या फिर उर्दू में हो, तो जो हम किसी मतलब?
I think yes, the book that I would recommend, it's available in Urdu. In fact, it was originally authored in Urdu, and now its translation in the English language also exists. It's called Hayat-e Rasool-e-Ummi by Khalid Masood. Khalid Masood was a student, a very prominent student of Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi. He passed away about 2 decades ago, and his book has been published in Pakistan, and it's also available, I think, overseas. So you can just Google it and find out where you can buy it from.
Thank you. Nadia, you may go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shehzad.
Walaikum assalam.
First of all, ये जो बुक है खालिद मसूद की, ये मैं भी रिकमेंड करूंगी. ये मैंने भी पढ़ी है और बहुत बहुत अच्छी बुक है. सेकंड, मेरा क्वेश्चन जो है वो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन से रिलेटेड है, जो कि ईस्टर के मुतालिक है. मैंने आपसे पूछना था कि ईस्टर का तस्वर ये ईसाईयत में इसकी तारीखी हैसियत क्या है, और सेकंड ये कि जो हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम के दोबारा आने का तस्वर है, या जो हम मुसलमानों में अकीदा बन गया है, ये कब, क्यों और कैसे मुसलमानों में इंटीग्रेट हुआ? प्लीज इस पे रोशनी डाल दीजिए.
So, as far as the history of Easter is concerned, this is quite a long story. I think you can just Google the word Easter and you can read it on the Wikipedia. But as I can answer the next question in more detail, because the return of Jesus is something which is not mentioned at all in the Quran at all. It is mentioned in certain hadith narratives and very, very important books of hadith like Bukhari and Muslim. They mention of the second coming of Jesus. And as a result of these narratives, this notion of his second coming has become very prominent and very popular, and Muslims are waiting for his arrival. Christians are also waiting for his arrival because they also think that after crucifixion, he was raised alive and he's going to return near the end of time. Jews are also waiting for a Messiah because they have denied Jesus and they have denied Muhammad, and they think that the Messiah that they were promised was not Jesus, and of course he was not Muhammad, and so they're also waiting for his arrival. So all these three Abrahamic religions, based on their own sources, are waiting for the arrival of Jesus. And in particular, if you ask Muslims, I mean, the source of the Muslims, then it is this hadith literature.
थैंक यू। और ये मैंने शायद आप बेहतर जानते हो, ये बस ये मुझे बता दें कि ये ईस्टर के दौरान 40 डेज के लिए कैथोलिक जो हैं वो रोजे भी रखते हैं, शायद आपको इसके बारे में कोई इंफॉर्मेशन हो?
Of course, this is called Lent. So Lent is their 40-day fasting period, and this has been going on ever since the earliest of times, since the times of Jesus. And various sects, they have various forms of this fasting, and it is precisely for this reason that the Quran has also said that it's not just the Quran which has made fasting mandatory. It existed, pre-existed Prophet Muhammad, and before him, of course, Christians and Jews, all of them used to fast. It's a age-old ritual, and technically it is called Lent, L-E-N-T.
Thank you. Fabia Nazi, you may go ahead now.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. You said the Quran is a book for all of the humanity, including Muslims and non-Muslims. But few people present a riwayah in this regard, that Hazrat Umar, when he didn't accept Islam, he happened to come across his sister reciting Qur'an, and he reacted in a very bad way, and he asked for the book to show him up. So his sister refused to show the book, claiming you are napak and only pak people can hold this book. So you should go to take a bath. This is the riwayah they present, and claiming non-Muslims can't touch this book, and they are not allowed to, get, have the ability to read this. And in this way, question arises: how are they going to get hidayah? So this is a confusion. What argument can you present?
So the book that I was just referring to, Hayat Rasul Ummi, it has shown that this narrative is not authentic at all. It has become famous, and the acceptance of Islam by Umar anhu, it has another version as well, and you can see it in that book for yourself. But as far as this version is concerned, in which he's heard his sister reciting the Quran and then telling him that he should go and have ablution or do ghusl, and before that he cannot touch the Quran, this is not an authentic version at all.
Okay, Professor, I have another question as well. ये एतकाफ से ही मुतल्लिक है. मुझे सुनने का इत्तेफाक हुआ उस्ताद जी को, और उन्होंने बताया कि ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ मशरूत है मस्जिद से, अंतुम आकिफूना फिल मसाजिद. तो और ये है भी नफल इबादत. लेकिन अब इससे एक कंक्लूजन ड्राइव होती है मेरे दिमाग में खुद ब खुद ही. यानी एक चीज जब मशरूत है एक जगह से, जैसे हज और उम्रा बैतुल्लाह से है, और इसी तरह इत्तिकाफ मस्जिद से मशरूत हो गया, तो फिर लोग मुख्तलिफ अपने सूरत हाल या माशरती माहौल को दलील बनाकर, जवाब बनाकर अगर ये मुतालबा करें, ख़वातीन खासकर, कि हम घरों में इत्तिकाफ करेंगे, तो नासाज़गार हालात तो मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे पेश आ जाते हैं. जैसे कोरोना के दौरान लोगों ने हज नहीं किया, तो आप उन हालात के तब्दील होने का या तो इंतजार करते हैं या फिर उनको तब्दील करने की कोशिश करते हैं, लेकिन उनको जवाज बनाकर आप उस दीन के हुक्म की शक्ल को तब्दील नहीं करते, क्योंकि फिर वो आइंदा नस्लों में बतौर प्रैक्टिस जारी हो जाएगा. फिर नस्लों की तो आदत होती है प्रैक्टिसेस को देखकर उसको ही दीन कंसिडर कर लेते हैं, तो यूं चीज अपनी जगह से उसकी शक्ल ही बदल जाएगी. तो ये जवाज क्या ठीक है ख़वातीन का कि हम इत्तिकाफ घरों में कर लें?
I think we need to understand that the spirit of our religion, the essence of our religion is that when something cannot be done in its ultimate shape, then the Quran allows us and the Sharia allows it to do it in some lesser shape. For example, if we cannot do wuzu because of lack of water, or maybe because of illness or any other reason, then tayammum is something that has been allowed. Similarly, if we are not able to pray while standing because of some reason, then we are allowed to sit and even lie down and pray. So you see, the spirit and the essence of the Sharia is that things should be done in their optimum way. But when they are not being able to done in an optimum way due to some reason, then the second best thing should be adopted. So I do think that if the ideal way and the proper way is to do itikaf in the mosque, but you see today very few mosques offer women, especially, to have a place in itikaf. And at times, women, they do want to go to a mosque, and because of the fact that the mosque in their own vicinity only offers men this facility, or at times women don't have a person who can deliver food to them. There could be a number of reasons. So in this situation, if they opt for a house, that would be a second best option. Its analogy with Hajj and Umrah, I think, is not correct, because you see, Hajj and Umrah is something which is specific to that place. You just cannot, do it in any other place. Whereas offering the prayer is concerned, if you're not being able to offer it in the mosque, you can always do it in your own homes. Similarly, other things which can be done in their next best form, they are something which can be done in their practical shape. In a very similar way, it's not essential that, it's just a force essential that you do it in the mosque. But as I said, due to these constraints and circumstances in which women would like to do so, and they're not given this opportunity. So, someone can think that, well, instead of not doing it at all, I might as well sit in a room in my own house. So I would think that this is justified.
जी, इससे एक ज़िमनी सवाल मेरे ज़हन में आ रहा है। मेरा ज़हन समझ नहीं पा रहा है इस चीज़ को कि मस्जिदों में इज्तिमाई एतिकाफ़ का ट्रेंड और घरों में ख़वातीन के एतिकाफ़ का ट्रेंड, जब ये परवान चढ़ेगा, तो अगली जनरेशन, यानी चीज़ शुरू तो किसी एक हालत में होती है, लेकिन उसकी हालत हमारे हाथ में नहीं रहती, वो जनरेशन टू जनरेशन तब्दील होती है। और फिर अगली जनरेशन्स के सामने जब हम, जैसे आज के दौर में हमें नहीं मालूम था कि तरावी दरअसल वही तहज्जुद की नमाज़ है, हमें डीप स्टडी के ज़रिए पता चला। तो अगली जनरेशन को तो यही शक्ल एतिकाफ़ लगेगा, मस्जिदों में इज्तिमाई और घरों में ख़वातीन का। उनको जब कोई
See, I do get your point. I do get your point. But you see, what happens is that this is not something that is happening all over the world. It's not that every single mosque all over the world has an itikaf in which people are doing it jointly. Similarly, it's not that all over the world women are doing it at home. It is only in certain exceptional circumstances. So you see, when a woman is confined to her home, this is something that she could also tell her children, she could tell her surroundings that, well, I'm doing it as a second best option. It is only when people start doing this as the first best option, and they don't even mention the fact that the real place for itikaf is the mosque, that this happens, what you are saying. So if things are, portrayed the way they are, if people offer, and I'm talking about women, if they start doing so at home, and what I'm saying is, it's not that all the women are going to do it. There are so many mosques in which women, they still sit in itikaf. I'm just talking about those women for whom there is no opportunity. And if they sit at home, I would never recommend someone who has the opportunity to sit in the mosque that she should not go to the mosque and do the itikaf at home. She should go to the mosque. But what about women who don't get this opportunity? They want to sit at some secluded place. It is for such women that I am talking about. And then they too should always let their surroundings know that I am doing it as a second best option. And as far as this joint itikaf is concerned, which is also becoming popular, so remember, this is not at all parts of the world. It is only in some areas that this has become a fashion now. So I think that as long as people continue to say what the right thing is and then tell people that, well, we are doing the next best thing, I don't think that the situation should go as worse as you are fearing.
जी ठीक है, शुक्रिया.
Thank you, Dr. Shehzad, for this insight about the matters of itikaf. And that was the last question for the day. We'll see each other tomorrow, inshallah.
Inshallah.